Welcome to Next to Madison, a podcast to help you live your best life.
Hey, welcome back to another fun and exciting episode of Next to Madison. This is episode 192, and this is a very, very exciting episode. I have the honor to be able to speak with JT Foxx, who is a global entrepreneur, investor, author, actor now, DJ. This guy works in 54 countries. He has clients all over the world. He has mastered business. He is completely self-made. In 12 years, he went from being broke to basically being fully financial free. And this guy is not stopping, and he is going through and talking about everything from confidence to his morning routine to creating a healthy balance of how to focus versus just trying to do everything to become rich, really finding out what you're passionate about and digging deep. So instead of going horizontal, go vertical. This is a very fun, fascinating interview. I feel so blessed and so honored to start 2023 with this interview. So I hope you guys enjoy, and the show will start with JT Foxx after this brief message.
Hey, it's Madison Malloy. I'm excited to announce that my new book, Time to Lighten the Fuck Up, is now available online and in stores. You can pick up your copy today by going to Amazon or barnesandnoble.com. This new book is a humorous self-help guide to help you remove the obstacles that are holding you back so you can take things less seriously and live a more enjoyable life. I'm so excited for you to read it. Now back to the show.
We are back with our amazing guest. I'm so pumped for this interview. It is insane. I have got the amazing JT Foxx. How are you?
Fantastic. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So give us a brief background so people just know exactly who you are if they haven't heard of you before.
Oh, well, everyone's got the same story, right? We all started, we're broke, we have no money, no one believed in us and yada, yada, yada. Now we're successful, but I'm originally from Canada and had a speech impediment from the age of 8 to 24, came to America with $974, went down to negative 34,000. And then, really like a month away from moving back to America because I'm really out of money. And I started off in real estate investing. And then I did my first deal, my second deal, I made my first million in a very short amount of time after that. Then my second million, 25. And then it just kind of exploded now where I literally have over, 50 companies and brands all over the world. And, I've spoken in 54 countries and there's pretty much on hotels and malls and pretty much everything, entertainment companies. There's not much that I don't own. And it's interesting to see how it always starts off with one moment. And now I'm on your show, so I can officially retire.
I love it. I love it. So what was that one moment?
I mean, there's usually 5 stories. I tell people you're pretty much 5 stories from your first million and probably like 15 moments from your first 10 million. And obviously for me and for a lot of people, it's that first deal, right? And so you're going broke, you got nothing. That usually that first deal or for people, that first customer, because at the end of the day, everyone thinks about the cars, the lifestyles, the houses. It really doesn't matter. That first deal is probably the most important thing. And for me is like, it was 74,000. And so that was like all the money in the world for me at that time. And then the second deal, the third thing. And then I think when I made my first million, and I was not even 25 yet, I told everyone I knew I was a millionaire. People didn't believe in me and people were more successful than me. And 2 things I realized: people have more money than me, couldn't care less. And people that had less money than me or that said I would make it, they said I was lucky. So I learned that I was trying to get like approval from everybody else rather than get approval from myself. And nobody cares, right? So you have to care for yourself, and maybe because everyone said I would never make it. So this was the opportunity for me to go and say, hey, look at me, I'm successful. And unfortunately, the world doesn't work that way and it should not work that way. And I think that was a very big defining moment. And so obviously when you start pivoting to other businesses and other industries, because it started from real estate, but now into like pretty much every industry there is, you start kind of this, but I always tell people like it takes one person, one deal, one opportunity to change your life and your business forever. So usually that one person will lead to another person or that deal lead to another opportunity, and it has a chain effect. And that's why I've always said, when you're growing up your business, always say the word like yes. Right? Because I live my life that if I don't do X, whatever X is, who would I've met, who would I've partnered, and what would I've learned? And a lot of people are saying no. And as you become more successful, then I find myself saying no all the time. Like even the amount of requests I get for a podcast. And I think the only reason I'm on this podcast is because someone who I'm actually meeting tomorrow, ironically enough, I'm flying to New York to see him, said, hey, can you really do this? It would be helping out. This is amazing. but normally I wouldn't, it's just because of time, right? So
Yeah.
I just said to you, I just literally finished like 17 phone calls, and it's not even, like 12 o'clock yet. In this morning, and every 5 minutes to 15 minutes of my life is scheduled out. And so it's all about energy management, not time management. So you can have it all if you plan it all. So you become very good as you grow of saying no. But the word yes will open other doors. And there's too many people say no at the beginning of the journey that they say yes. As you become successful, you have to be more selective and say no.
No, well, I'm honored you're here. So thank you so much. I know that
I'm honored.
Well, thank you. So I appreciate that. No, but that's a really good thing. It's like you do have to say yes because you just don't know where those opportunities are going to lead you. Like until you've really made it and you're where you want to be, like you really shouldn't be saying no to a lot of things.
Well, but here's the reality. Like I've interviewed Pacino, Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Donna Karen, Cole Hauser, for me, also like pretty much the biggest names. And it's a lot easier when I reach out to people to be on my show because they know who I've had, right?
Mhm.
But at some point people are starting out, and I know that they'll say, "Oh, I had JT Foxx, or I had this person on my show," which then will give credibility to the next person. But that 15 or 30 minutes or 45 minutes, it will help the other person a lot more than it will help me. And back then we didn't have podcasts, right? So I had a syndicated show, a radio show, which was self-syndicated, and I used to go to rich people and say, "Hey, can I buy you lunch and pick your brain? Can I buy?" And it's say, "Oh no, I'm busy." And then when one guy said, "No, kid, my time is worth much more than a $20 sandwich." And then it hit me. Most people are lying to you. If everyone told you the truth, like, I don't want to be your podcast. Why? Because nobody's listening to it, or you haven't had any big names, or, it just, rather than saying 45 minutes, if you just said 10 minutes, right? Because it doesn't really matter the amount of time that you have. Like no one's ever asked me how long I interviewed John Travolta or Mark Wahlberg, or, this billionaire. Like no one ever asked me the length. It just matters that I did. And I think sometimes people ask a lot. Now, if Joe Rogan wants to talk to you for 3 hours, you're like, yes, please, right? Because Joe Rogan is the biggest, right? Like, yes, 5 hours is fine. So I think part of people when they start off is situational awareness. And that's something I didn't have. And that's, once I realized why people do business with me, and I really ask, I'm like, because everyone's lying to you. Nobody wants to hurt your feelings, right? They want to say, "Oh, yeah, sorry, I have no time," and what really is your product sucks, your idea sucks, your deal sucks. I don't trust you. I don't believe you. So people lie. "Oh, it's not me, my spouse, my partner, not now. We're overcommitted." But then the next person comes along, they're investing with them. So if everyone told us the truth, right? And you said like, why don't you want to do the show? Or why don't you want to invest with me? I thought you were full of crap. And then we'll say, "What do you mean?" "Well, I didn't believe you." Well, then I would show you the evidence. But even if you show people, if someone believes one thing, they're not going to change their mind. You need to take this information, and the next time you pitch the person, then you got to be like, "Okay, I know you may sound too good to be true, but let me give you some facts even before they brought it up." But you're never going to change the person's mind that said no to you. Very, very rarely. Maybe you can circle back at a later date. But that to me, once I realized why people said no to me earlier on, and I said, "Listen, I don't care if you hurt my feelings. Just tell me why. So next time I don't make the same mistake."
Yes.
But you know what people do? They say it's not my fault. "Oh, this person has no money," or this. So what happens is you're blaming the other person, and you keep making the same mistakes over and over, and you keep getting no, and it's not your fault. But at the end, it is your fault. Just nobody wants to hurt your feelings, which is kind of how I built my brand of being no BS, telling people how it is, which by the way, everyone believes in the freedom of speech until they disagree with you. Then they want to cancel you. That's the world we live today.
Isn't that crazy? Right. So I want to talk about, you obviously have this unbreakable confidence. Were you always that way, or how did you develop that?
I was actually an introvert, and I had self-confidence issue because your whole life people tell you you're not going to make it. It's funny enough because they say this. Everyone says I'm going to fall. Nobody says that anymore, right? They just, like they like. I still remember the last time someone said I was not going to make it, because if you tell me I'm not going to make it, I am just going to make it, just on purpose. Like I kind of need an enemy. Like, please tell me I'm not going to make it. So it's kind of Michael Jordan, so I can dunk over you to show you. So, but I think confidence is different levels, right? So the first level of success is competence. The first time you do anything, there's a fear factor, whether it's like first date, first business meeting, first business, first time you meet a celebrity, for like whatever we do the first time, you are going to be nervous. It doesn't matter what it is. And what you're doing is you're nervous at the unknown. You don't know what to expect. And that's, you get these jittery. After you do it 5 times, it goes away. Like after your 5th day at school, you're not nervous. A 5th day of doing anything, you're not nervous. After your fifth date, you're not nervous. After your fifth marriage, you're not nervous, right? So after 5 times of doing anything, because you know what to expect. So once you get that competence, that's when confidence comes, right? The more you do something, the more confident. So people just come in and they do it one time and they're like, I don't know, I'm scared. It's because you haven't done it. Like, I would argue like the hardest child is for women, it's like raising children. The hardest business in the world, the hardest job is raising after the first child. Like they don't know what's going to happen. They're getting opinions from everybody, family, friends, and all that. They're reading books. Second, they're unsure how the first baby is going to work with the second and dynamics of that. By the third or even at the fifth, they got us. Like they know exactly what's going to happen. And I think that's kind of like the point. But there's an unknownness to business and life. And once you are confident about your ability with the marketing, branding, confident, that's when success comes. If you're not confident, then you will never become successful. So they're a byproduct of both.
No, that's really well said. I hadn't heard that before, like the confidence and the confidence. So if you are lacking,
and then that's when, and by the way, that's when success leads to significance and then legacy. People like want to change the world. Well, change yourself first. Like nobody wants your help if you haven't changed the world. Like people are like, oh, I want to change the world. Well, look at you. You haven't changed anything yet. So I think people have to put the oxygen mask on them first and then everybody else, like they say on the plane. So I think that's part of the problem today.
Yeah. So it's really, if you're lacking confidence in a specific area, keep getting experience in that area, which will in turn build your confidence.
Well, keep doing it. It's not so much an experience, but keep doing it. I think there's a lot of people who don't do it. Right. They just keep doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result, or they don't do it. They're afraid of like failing. Or here's the thing. Failure is it's a big part of success. And it's okay to fail as long as you don't repeat the same mistake twice. But we live in a society where people will, like, you put your hand on the oven. It's hot, right? I know right away I'm not going to put my hand there. But some people need to put their hand over and over again because they need to feel the pain, the drama. I did the thing kind of every year at the start of the year. I do something called wealth workout, right? So the idea is practice business and kind of look at this, that success is not a formula or a secret. That's BS, right? That's just gurus selling you shit.
Yeah.
It's really improvement of skills. Like whatever you're not good at, that's why you're not successful. Like if you can't sell, it doesn't matter. You're not going to succeed. Or if you can't market, you can't brand. And people need to turn their weaknesses into their strengths, which often they don't. And so what happens is, for me, I start off today's the first day. And, I do the exercise along with everybody else. And if people don't do it at the same time, that's fine. They do it later. But the idea is that keep it simple. A lot of people, they have complicated private life, which spills into their business, or complicated businesses, which spills into their private life. And people have to learn to simplify whatever it is that they're doing.
Yeah, that's very well said. So what is a tip to help simplify your life?
Well, first of all, I think you have to start from the end, right? Okay, what is the goal that I want to achieve? Like, what do I want my family to be like? Or what do I want my business to be like? Or what do I want to be there? And then kind of work backwards. And so, okay, so you want to make $1 million a year this year. Okay, great. Well, how much is that a month, a week? How many customers, how many clients, how many leads you need to be? And I think there's a lot of things that focus is more important than intelligence. And I think people are trying to have all these multiple streams of income with no water going through. And the idea is don't do 5,000 things. It's doing 5 things 1,000 times. Because again, focus is more important than intelligence. You don't need to be smart in business. You just need to be highly focused. And there's too many people that are what's called horizontal thinkers, right? They're like scratching the surface. I need a brand. I need a logo. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this, rather than going deep until breakthrough. Because their society is, we live as an ADD. We're always looking for the next thing, the next idea, the next product. And obviously that's how I operate, but I have a large organization. I have a lot of people working for me. I have, CEOs, and I have all this stuff. So my job is to come up with the ideas. The job of my team is to implement. When you start off, your job is to come up with the ideas and then implement, but come up with a lot less ideas and more implementation. At my stage, it's more ideas than implementation at this point.
Interesting. Okay. So what would you say? I talk on this podcast a lot about the subconscious mind and, self-worth and belief. So what would you say, in your opinion, is the one mindset or subconscious belief one needs to have to become truly financially free?
I mean, it's not how much it costs, it's how much it's going to make you. That's probably the biggest fundamental, because most people look at, okay, how much is it going to cost? I look at it as, if I don't do this, how much is it going to cost me by not doing it? And I think that's the point of people. They look at how much things they're going to cost. And so it becomes, they have a scarcity mentality. And at the end of the day, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. And people are their greatest asset or their worst enemy. I think I said this before. I had a conversation with one of my billionaire partners, and he was saying, I was like, some people, they quit too soon. Like they achieve a lot of success. And then let's say they make $500,000, which is a lot of money. And all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, I made it. And then they take their foot off the accelerator, and then whatever works eventually goes down. It's just a natural progression. And then they're trying to put the gas, but they lost that momentum. So my philosophy is like, keep that momentum. If it's something, I'm punching it. I'm not stopping for anything along the road. I'm just going straight ahead. And I think success is a big part of momentum. It's a big part of timing. And it's a big part of success. And that's really, 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 really important.
So what would you say to somebody who's been working a long time at a business and things just aren't working? Like, when do you know when to walk away and shift gears?
I think it's very important to understand when you shift away. Here's the thing too. Everything is about three things. What's the best thing that can happen? What's the worst thing that can happen? What's the most likely? Right. And then I make a decision, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But there are people that quit too soon, right? They're faced with adversity. They kind of come in, they shift, they have issues and I think that's kind of the big issue that people are faced with, is that they have these goals, but their purpose is not strong enough. So they quit. They're like, well, I don't want to be rich. I don't want to be a millionaire. I don't care about money. Right. And they quit too soon. And so they don't have resilience. And so I think that's a big, big, big issue into that. And so, I mean, you've done a lot of podcasts and things like that. If you had to break it down about what's the number one reason why you think people don't make it.
Oh, asking me the question?
Yes. Yeah. I'd like curious to see what your thoughts. I'm actually
Yeah.
turning this interview.
Yes, I like it. Personally, I think it's a lack of belief in oneself. So confidence. I think people get very hesitant. They're afraid to reach out to people that could change the game because they don't believe in themselves. And I always tell people, I said, the worst thing that can happen is they say no. But if you don't ask, it's already a no. So you might as well ask. You got to believe in yourself to be able to take those chances.
Yeah, no, because that's the point, is that everybody wants to become successful. And I think, but they're not willing to do it, the sacrifice. I always tell people this: you can have it all, just not at the same time. Right. So I tell people, like, pick three, right? So you have wealth, you have health, fitness, you have family and friends, and you have hobbies and fun. Right. So pick three. And that's really what life is. Like, you can't have all five. Like, for example, I pick, wealth, I pick health, and obviously consider like my client's family, because that's how I kind of position it. But could I wanted to join a bowling league or a basketball league, or could I do more things? Yeah. But just put it in this perspective, right? If you work a lot and then you work out, right? And then all of a sudden, your family, you haven't been around there because you've been working. And then you're like, I'm going to go out with my friends and my guys to hang out. And your family says you haven't been there. Well, ultimately, what's going to happen is there's going to be an issue, right? Because it's going to put a strain on your family, which then the drama of that is going to spill into the business every single time, whether it's, stress, whether it's emotional, or end up in divorce. And so I think this notion is you can have it all in life, just not at the same time. And everyone's got a different level of happiness. Like, you'll ask a lot of wealthy people, it's not about the money. I've made a lot of money myself. It's not about the money. Like, I don't really care about it. To me, business is a game, and money is how it keeps score. So business has always been a game. And I think that's the fundamental difference.
I said this in my book, where I said you should gamify your life, because people, like, if you're playing a video game and you mess up or you make a wrong turn, you reset and you start and you don't overthink it and you just move back on. Right. And I like that you said it is a game, because I believe that's where the massive success comes. When you're going to start a business you're passionate about, don't focus on how much money you could potentially make. Focus on, is this going to create value?
Well, that's the point.
Or like a
now,
game.
people look at success, unfortunately, with what's your Bugatti worth, or, planes and stuff like that, all of which I can afford. By the way, I know the wealthiest people in the world, right?
Yeah.
None of them showcase their stuff. So even just take a look at people like Elon Musk. He'll brag about living, not owning a house, right? Whether that's true or not, that doesn't point, right? And you won't see them flaunt. And we become a society where people will look on life as fake as the new real. And, Andrew, Tate, whether people like him or don't like him, went from nothing to everywhere. Everybody wanted him out. And now we're finding out that there's the pass, we'll wait till everything comes out. But the point is this, it's like, well, he's so nice in person. Well, Bernie Madoff was also very nice to a lot of people, right? There's a lot of good people that do bad things, right? Yeah. It doesn't mean they're, and then there's bad people that are bad to everyone, right? Yeah. So we live in a society where people think that success is assimilated to how much you own, how big your following is. We all know people are buying likes and followers on Instagram, and I could tell, based on the growth and the engagement, and you click on them, if they're all from India, there's a problem. And so now people, oh, you're not that successful. You only have a couple 100,000 people. And I think that's the issue. But how many billionaires or multi-millionaires have less than 1,000 followers? Or you don't even know, they don't even have social media. So our compass on what success is all skewed. And we live in a world, whether Andrew Tate and everybody else, there are people that no matter what you say, they will always support Andrew Tate. You can shoot, there can be evidence, there could be here, and people will say, no, it's bullshit, it's not true. And then there are people that absolutely hate him, no matter what you show them. You could say, hey, this was BS, Yeah. They're not going to say, well, I don't like him, but this is not true. And then there's people in the middle, which is a very small majority, which, by the way, ironically, is the same majority that tends to sway elections, is independent, that wait to get that information. You've seen this with a lot of polarizing figure, President Trump, same thing. There's people, he can do no harm, and then people hate him no matter what. Right. And that's the polarization of society, which I think the lesson for all this and this is that no matter what you do, you're not going to have everybody like you. And if there's only a small percentage of the people like you, you'll make a lot of money. So I think this idea of being loved by everyone is not effective.
Well, it's not realistic. Yeah, it's absolutely toxic. So that's why it's like, not everyone's going to like you. So just do what you want to do that makes you happy. Just don't be a bad person.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing was, for example, Andrew Tate, I saw a lot of wealthy people, by the way, none of them knew who he was. Like that's the funny thing. You asked a lot of they had no idea, right? So if you live in a social media world, so I found it very interesting that older, very wealthy people had no clue. They're like, huh? Right. But then I showed the clip and they're like, this is not they're like, this is stupid. It's not work. But if you don't know, like we live in a world, like we're comparing the Matrix movies to real world, and speaking like the Matrix is after you, and the problem is that a young generation just got suckered into that, and they're about to get a very hard reality, because I think it's growing a very distrust and of everything. I think there's a rebellion nature of it. Even if you take a look at social media, how many people are dropping the F word left, right, and center? And I always tell people, like, if you had kids, would you let them go up to the teacher and say, go F in yourself, or go F this? And you'd be like, no, respect. There is no respect. And unfortunately, in the business world, there is a food chain. I don't care what you say. We're not all equal. We don't work as hard, right? If Elon Musk came in here and just happened to pop in, I'm pretty much sure you wouldn't say, well, let me finish my interview with JT. Then we'll go to Elon. Like, JT, sorry, I'm going to Elon, right? Or anybody else that have there. And I wouldn't be offended, because Elon is at the top of this food chain. But when you're at the top, you take a lot of shots, and that's just part of the way we are. Everyone loves a story on the way up. But once you're an entrepreneur, man, do they want to see you come down. And that's the relationship. So that's the way the world works today. And it's changed from how I started, which is not that long ago, if you think about it, 12 years, but the game has definitely changed.
So you obviously, it sounds like you have people that are, wanting you to fail. So how do you deal with the noise? How do you kind of cut it out? But
here's the thing. It's whoever's trying to bring you down is below you. Like, I've never really had.
Exactly. They're not doing anything.
I've never had a successful. Although, to be honest with you, I mean, I do have beefs with some people that are perceived to be successful on social media. And I'm the one who calls out their bullshit. Like, dude, you're lying. Like, you're lying. Right. Or you're just like, you're full of it. Like Andrew Tate saying he's a trillionaire, it's just bullshit. Or a billionaire, it's just bullshit. Like, he is not selling courses at Huffler, and your percentage, you'd be the richest man in Romania and casinos. Any successful person will know that doesn't make sense. Now, is he saying that just for shock value? And by the way, people, it's just shock value. Well, then why are you allowing that? Like, it's not right. So everybody now, it used to be like, wow, millionaire was a big thing. Then if you were like 8-figure, that was impressive. Yeah. And then now everyone's a billionaire. So there's only 3,000 billionaires in the world, but somehow we're all billionaires. We're all very successful. Everybody's a trillionaire now. Now they're using trillionaire. And I think it's such a bad message. It's very frustrating, but I have just kind of learned that, I call out the BS as it is. There was a tweet that somebody sent, which about like, about the vaccines. This is a big name in our industry. Everybody would know him if I said his name. And about like how the football player, Buffalo Bills, this is what happens when you take a vaccine, right? And we should question the medical community. The guy took a hit in an area that's like almost impossible. Like it's a lucky thing. And the guy's lying in there and you're coming with COVID conspiracies. And I'm not about, this is about a man who's on life support now.
Yeah.
And people would just say anything on social media to get attention. That's not the point, right? And even hypothetically, that was the case. Yeah. There's a time and place for that. And the fact that the NFL, which I think played it very well, and I think they were forced by the players, by the way, they said, listen, game over, head back to Buffalo, and we're not even going to talk about rescheduling the game because life is more important than the game, which by the way is like, when does it get rescheduled? Like this is playoff implication. But then you have some keyboard warriors, a-holes on there putting conspiracy like that. And they didn't have the same respect. Because imagine this happened to you and your family message about that. How would that be? So that's the point, and that's the lack of decorum now. Everybody's tough on keyboard. They ain't going to say it straight to my face one-on-one. That I promise you. Right.
Yeah. So people create these fake identities or fake Twitter accounts just so they can harass people and spread hate
I think they now do it in their own names. I think they don't do it in their own names because they're empowered and secretly they may be fans. Right. If you just respond to them, like, sorry, I disappointed you. Like, you know what I mean? So, and here's the thing. I've kind of learned that responding to like a hater doesn't do anything. It kind of fuels them over. I'm just very quick and witty. So it's kind of one of those things that you just, but here's the thing. That's life. Right. And so I've kind of learned these are the chess pieces that are right now. You don't complain about it. You just play the game that's played. I just choose to play ethically. I don't buy followers. I don't buy likes. I don't, exaggerate. What I have is what I have. And that way, I'm going to be in business for another 10 years, 20 years. And a lot of people come and go. So, and then when they get taken down for lying or government or FBI or whatever it is, then I can already tell you the answer is the government's after me. That's what they're going to say. So that's my story and I'm sticking to it.
So are there a lot of like big names on social media that are like selling courses and all this stuff
most of them are, most of them are fugazis, as I say, fakes. Because don't forget, I'm in the industry, so I know. It's crazy how many people during the pandemic came to me for a loan.
Oh,
right.
Wow.
Came to me for a loan. Yeah. I mean, if I name the names, you would know. But that would be breaking news and stuff like that. And then some of them, I have clients that know this and they're like, yeah, the person did this person did that. But like I said, people might say the same thing about me, but I know why I'm very consistent. I'm like loyal 24/7, 365. And I think I live by a code and that code has worked out really well. And ultimately too, I partner with billionaires. Right. I literally have business all over the world. Like I do what I say I'm going to do. I'm a businessman first. So I coach and I, offer things and speak all around the world, but my business has shifted to like 90% being deals and 10%, and people say giving back. I mean, you give back, but I have found a lot of deals from this and a lot of deal flow. And I've met a lot of people do this. I mean, one of my clients introduced me to another billionaire that we're trying to do business together. So it would be my 5th billionaire to do business with, but you just never know. So it's all about relationships. And I think that'd be the most important. It's not what you know. It's not who you know. It's who knows you.
Yeah, no, it's 100% true because those doors can open. And also one of the things that our society is really lacking is just empathy, Yeah. The people are so focused on like the materialistic stuff that they forget that being a good person is actually the most important thing that you could be. But I like what you were saying about like when you have true wealth, you're not flaunting it. I love those pictures that you see on social media where it's like the super rich has the no logos anywhere. It's just
Very true. I mean, I think wealth comes from relationships, not from what you have in the bank. Don't get me wrong. Having a lot of money is great. But it's more important to have meaningful relationships.
Exactly. And I got to ask you before, because I know your time is limited. I just want to ask you one more question.
My banker is actually upstairs waiting for me to sign. That's when you made it. Your banker will come to your house to sign documents. And by the way, this is Chase, which by the way, I'll be like, listen, I'm going to take all my money to your bank because I'm not going to the branch. Like, I'm sorry, it's just not. And so now they have someone come to my house. And so it's like, even some of you I know, like, you got them to come to your house? Because I'm like, I'm gonna pull all my money on there, go elsewhere. I don't go to the branch and everything. So it's not that once. I always go in there. It takes forever, driving this, like that, time management. So
Yeah, no, exactly. It sounds like you've mastered that. But what is your morning routine? Because I feel like that sets your day up for success.
I mean, I wake up at between 4 to 5, depending on the day and when I'm not traveling and stuff like that. I like to do 15 minutes of strategic thinking about a concept. I like to come up with ideas. Then I read probably over 60 newspapers. There's an app for this, not in full, and to kind of see what's happening in the world. And then I'll start off my day with the 5 most important thing. I'll literally do new meetings before 11 o'clock where my energy is most, there. And then about spend 2 hours messaging, calling people, building new relationships. And this would be one of them here during this time period. And then the rest of the afternoon, I just basically have meeting with existing people, lawyers, attorneys, deal makers, updates, solving problems, putting fires. And I usually shut down by 8. I'm usually by bed by 8:30, 9 o'clock, and trying to shut my brain. I usually put my iPad, fall asleep. I don't go to bed thinking about business. So
That's brilliant. Absolutely. And when do you get the gym in?
no, the gym's in the morning. So that's usually around 6. Yeah. But I always listen to things like that feed my mind. So I don't listen to music. So I'm doing mind feeding while I work out. 2 birds with 1 stone.
So what are some things you recommend to listen to while somebody works out?
My podcast. JT Foxx,
Perfect.
2X. Yeah. It really,
Love it.
I usually like take a topic and stuff like that. It's hard because a lot of times when I listen to people, I know if what they're saying is true or not true. So it's kind of frustrating. Sometimes I'll just, I'll listen to different interview styles of people. Like I could listen to Howard Stern, like how he interviews, or Stephen A. Smith and stuff like that. Sometimes I just kind of listen to what the questions they ask and how to get it as well. Or someone I want to do business with. Like I've been listening to a lot of David Guetta lately because I did my first DJ set. I did acting earlier this year with Elizabeth Hurley and
so cool.
Bruce Willis, and now DJ Mega Fox. So I've been kind of researching David Guetta because I'm trying to reach out to him. So now I'm trying to learn as much as possible about an individual, and it's a good way of doing it.
So how do you have time to keep going into all these different things?
Because I'm 3 minutes late, and now you've made me 3 minutes late for my next meeting, and I'm blowing them up. And then I'm not only am I late for the next meeting, but then I'm going to be late for the meeting after that. And then my whole day will be messed up because we went 3 minutes over. So, but we can do part 2. How about that? That's how I get out of it. We'll do part 2. Just get me out of here so I can go sign the documents for the deal that needs to close, and then 3 minutes late for my next meeting.
I love it. All right. Well, you go. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You are amazing. I'm so honored that you were here, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Look forward to it. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, JT. And thank you guys for listening to this amazing interview. I hope you picked up something. Please remember to rate and subscribe, and we'll see you next time to find out who's next.
Hey, your host here, Madison Malloy. Please make sure to subscribe to the show on all podcast platforms, and please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. Also, if you have any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@next2madison.com. I thank you again for listening. Bye.